Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to JobSearchTV or No BS Job Search Advice Radio, depending upon whether you watch it or listen to it. And as you know, from time to time, I actually do an interview with someone to help bring out other perspectives to you so that you can learn from different sources. And my guest today is Eleanor Stutz, who is the author of Hired. Hired is How to Use Sales Techniques to Sell Yourself on Interviews. She's written a number of books. She's a speaker. She's a sales trainer, does a variety of different things. And we are going to have a fun time using sales techniques to help you get hired, not fired, hired. Eleanor, great to see you. Thanks for making time today.
Oh, it's wonderful talking with you, Jeff. Thank you for having me as your guest.
You're very welcome. So I think of so many people underprice themselves and make huge mistakes in establishing their value along the way. Is that your experience as well? And you know, one thing, folks, I'll just make mention of this is a book that really it chronicles some of Eleanor's own experiences and how she was able to use her sales techniques and training to find work for herself throughout her career when she was aggressively working sales for organizations. So as a salesperson looking at establishing value, for a job hunter trying to establish value, how does someone go about doing this?
Well, it begins at the start when you create your resume. You want to search keywords that'll stand out, that are popular and what people are after. And I'm not going to get into the resume writing, but it should be up to date. Don't use last year's resume because times continually change. And then when you're called in for an interview, there are a number of things to focus on prior to it. And when the interviewer sees you haven't taken all the steps, it's actually through the sales cycle, and I can walk you through it, that's what's going to bring in their mind, this person knows what she or he is doing, and she's bringing value to the table, she's personable, and I want to hire that person. So that all contributes to value. And the main piece, though, is you have to be very honest about what you can and cannot do. And you address very succinctly and immediate what you can't do, but that you're a quick learner and can go quickly learn. That all contributes to establishing your value.
So number one is, Eleanor has said, think in terms of keywords in order to have your resume, and I'll include LinkedIn profile, identified and found as someone to be qualified. Number two is to be clear about what you can and, more importantly, cannot do. Now, a lot of people do that vacillation thing about not do. Well, I can learn that. So I'm wondering what you think about that.
What you need to do is have a couple examples ready to provide. Don't memorize anything because it has to come across as authentic. You're a storyteller, and I learned this at a public speaking class. You have to tell very briefly, no more than 2 minutes at a time, what your experience was been. If you're a college graduate with zero experience, talk about something an instructor had you do that you need to ramp up the learning immediately. You delivered, and you got wide acclaim from classmates. If you were on a job previously, then talk about a learning curve you needed to undertake and how you did it in rapid time because you're a highly motivated person. And not only did you deliver upon expectations, but you exceeded expectations. As soon as you finish your story, you absolutely have to ask, is this the type of candidate you are looking for, what I just described? In sales speak, it's called buy-ins. You need 3 to 5 buy-ins to get the ultimate yes.
I like that little thing. I haven't thought of that before. And it's a nice way to tie the bow where they're confirming that you're addressing what it is. My thing has always been at the beginning of the interview, before it really starts, whether it's a phone or an in-person, it starts off with, hey, thanks so much for making time to speak with me. You know, I recall the position description, or Eleanor told me about the role, but I want to get your take on it. Could you tell me about the job as you see it and what I can do to help? And the idea is to hear about the job at the beginning of the interview so you can talk about what you've done that matters to them and not just talk about what you've done. And always it's about tying the bow together with what they're looking for. But I like that comment about, is this the kind of background that you're looking for? Is this experience?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go back. We should take things in order. If you have an in-person interview, don't just jump into interview speak. Take a look at the lobby if it's a big company. See what catches your attention. If it's a tiny office and crummy environment, look for pictures of the family or signs of a hobby. Do small talk up front and say, wow, in the lobby, I saw you won this award. That's incredible. How did it come about? In the office, oh, I see you have a pet, a dog. What's the dog's name? Because apparently that's the only thing important to the person if there's nothing else to speak about. But find something nice to say before you start the conversation. And then when that sentence completes, the very next sentence out of your mouth is extremely important. Just very kindly say, I know you must be exceedingly busy. You must get thousands, if not only hundreds of resumes on your desk. What caught your attention on my resume to invite me in for an appointment today and take time for a conversation? You put the ball in their court because they can't say, oh, just looking or curious. Something caught their attention. They have to answer you, and that's how the conversation develops.
Folks, either way, whether it's my way or Eleanor's way, they both work, because what you're hearing is the employer telling you what it is they're looking for. That's the cool thing about it, because in most interviews, most of you wait until the very end of the interview to ask the questions, tell me about the job. And here we're talking about finding out about what they're looking for or what the job description is, which aren't going to be radically different. At the beginning of the interview, so you can answer all the questions in a way that demonstrate how you fit. So there's a sales cycle, right?
There is a sales cycle.
Sales cycle in job hunting. Tell me about the sales cycle in job hunting. Are there lots of steps? 3 steps? 30 steps?
Maybe 10 steps? Like addiction? I don't know.
The top 10 steps in a job search.
So the first step is to figure out in your mind what you're looking for. You need to have priorities and know where you will draw the line in the sand to say, no, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I mean, you don't say that out loud, obviously. But do your research, know which types of companies and what industry you absolutely prefer and where you believe you can bring the most value. And then do your homework before each interview. Review the website in depth, who the executives are, what they do in their spare time, and get as much information as you can. It may come up in conversation. Find out what the company mission is if you buy into it, and if the philosophy, and look at the links they provide on their website. See if it intrigues you. If you have zero interest in the website and what the executives do or what they think, go to the next one. But have your list. And then, so that's step 1 is your research. And we call it prospecting. When you're in for a meeting, let's say you got your resume professionally designed and created, which is an important step. And then somebody calls you in for an interview. Refresh your memory. Look at the website once again. Most importantly, go to your mirror, smile, and give yourself a little pep talk. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can get the job. And then give yourself a 2-second value-driven pitch. I don't like the word pitch, but that came to mind, as to why you're a great candidate. And watch your body language. Are you smiling? Do you look energetic? Do you look like someone who's trustworthy? And that you need to carry into the conversation. Dress in your favorite outfit. For example, I used to wear red on sales calls because that happens to be a good color for me. And when I'd walk in, the admin staff would say, wow, she's going to go get that sale. So wear what looks good on you. And then when you're in, have that smile. Before you get out of the car, give yourself another pep talk. I'm going to get this job, and know it. But then when you're in on the conversation, don't focus on getting the job because that's self-serving. Focus on fulfilling the needs of the person who's interviewing you and ultimately fulfilling the needs of the company.
You're so right about these points so far, and I know there's more coming. But when we start off with the idea of understanding the environment that we're walking into, when we understand that part of this, it's a head game, that if our mental state isn't right, like in sales, if you walk in as the sheepish salesperson, you know, kind of like in Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman, or the guys in, not Tin Man, Glenn Ross, who are always complaining about the leads that they get. If you walk in feeling like a loser, they smell it.
Absolutely. And then I'd like to make one other point. Treat guards, secretaries, people in warehouses as if they're the CEO, because in fact they are. They're the CEO of their own job, and very frequently they report back to the higher level CEO. Treat everybody equally, politely, respectfully. It makes a huge difference. It helped me get sales and jobs.
You know, I worked in search for many years, and some of the classic stories in the financial service community was how firms would ask the shoe shine guy how that person treated them. I know for my clients who would fly people in for interviews, they'd ask the driver, how did he deal with you? How did she deal with you? Was it someone who was rude and abrasive, was courteous and polite? And they took that into consideration, because it's not just what you do when you're seen, but when you're not seen.
Exactly.
By decision makers, it often makes the difference in a sale. And I'm glad you agree with me, because
100%. I have lots of stories, but I don't want to kill your time today. But yeah, it works like a charm being nice to everybody, and that's the easiest portion of interviewing. And I'd like to tell you one story about, I was mentioned researching the executives and what they do in their spare time. A number of years ago when we had the last down economy, I was at a networking event and I met a young girl just out of college, and she said, I just got this great job. And I said, you did? And she told me what the job was. I said, how on earth? Because everyone I know can't find a job. Tell me how you did it so I can share with others. And she said, well, I went on their website, saw the name of the executive, and it turned out he lived in my hometown. Now, granted, he's older than me, but it turned out he knows some of the same people, and he belongs to some of the community events that I participate in occasionally. So my opening remark to him over the phone was, I see you know so-and-so, I'm from the same town, and I would love to come in and just say hi. She didn't even expect to get an invitation for an interview. It was just simply to have a conversation. She was sitting in his office and he said, I couldn't think of anybody else I'd want to hire but you, and that's how she got it.
you know, it's not just what you know, but who you know. And how you make the connection easy for them.
Exactly.
Statistics are often that 70% of people find work as a result of their network. Of the 70% of them, or 49% in total, come as a result of introductions to people that your network knows you don't. And in this case, it sounds like she was able to pull out the trump card of, I'm in the town, we go to some of the same stuff, we're part of the same whatever, and thus make the connection. Because when firms hire, they're so afraid of making a mistake, aren't they? Just like when they're buying a product or service, they're afraid of making a mistake.
Because it's a continual revolving door, particularly in sales. I don't know about other jobs. Just, sales hire in, sales hire out. I mean, people don't even last a year. It's incredible, and it costs a fortune.
Yes, it does. There was two statistics I've seen. At a minimum, 50% of hiring managers have buyer's remorse within 18 months of hiring someone.
Oh, I would think it would be quicker than that.
Well, I've actually seen a higher percentage. I've seen as high as 67%. So when push comes to shove, it's important to try and make it easier for them to want to choose you, because one of the things that firms use are employee referrals. They use social proof in order to make decisions about interviewing and hiring. You can pull that rabbit out of the connection, what you like doing, that you're from the town, all this other stuff. It works wonders, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So we probably got through about half the steps so far before I opened my big mouth. What haven't we covered so far that would be useful amongst the 10 steps?
Sure. So after asking what caught your attention on my resume, you'll have the conversation about what it is, and then they're going to test you. Some questions may be crazy, some may be made up. This is my experience. Please don't take offense. Like I heard a story about a sales director told someone applying for a tech job, our company just instilled this new software, and you probably haven't even heard about it, let alone know how to use it. It's called Extra Life. I'm just making this up. And the candidate said, oh, yes, in fact, I did hear about it. Our company is way up to date, and they trained me on it. I'm fully knowledgeable. I'm certified on it, and I can start instantly implementing and teaching people how to use it. And you know what? Thank you for your time. Please leave now. It was a made-up story. So number one, be honest. Explain what you can and cannot do. What you cannot do, explain that you've had similar experiences, but you came up to snuff. I guess I mentioned that before. But emphasize that you're willing to learn and you're not afraid of learning curves, that you've done it throughout your life. And then continue about the better things you can do. As far as crazy questions go, sit back and take a few minutes. I was once asked, would you rather be a kamikaze pilot or an ice cream truck driver? And I had to say, I actually took 5 minutes. This was on a personality test. And I thought, well, yeah, driving an ice cream truck is easy. It'd be fun to see happy kids running toward you. But it would get boring within probably an hour for me. And kamikaze pilot, I don't want to kill myself. Of course I don't want to do that. On the other hand, when you're trying to make big sales and big corporations that you've never approached before, it could be almost as scary as that. So I chose kamikaze pilot. And the sales manager later said, I don't know whether to be thrilled to death you're on my team or scared to death of you.
And when you get asked these questions, folks, you have to do a quick instinctual thing about what are they really trying to find out about me. It's like the hunter versus farmer scenario in sales. Are you a farmer of leads? Translated, it's an existing client and you're trying to add on, or a hunter? And that's what they were in effect trying to find out here. I remember one time being asked the question, are you someone who would rather moo or growl?
What'd you say?
I understood the basis of the question pretty quickly. I said, growl, of course,
Yeah.
because as someone who used to be a headhunter, the idea becomes the growler is the aggressive one, the moo is the passive one, the content one. You don't want to hire a moo, do you? No. But it's the same concept. Understand what's the question, what are they trying to find out from the question?
Exactly. So throughout the conversation, try to get the underlying meaning. At the same time, what savvy salespeople do is they look at the other person's body language. They look at the facial expressions. Is the other person smiling? Does an eyebrow go up? Should you see an eyebrow go up, stop mid-sentence and ask, do you have a question? You look like you do, so I want to make sure I answer everything on your mind so we have a completely open conversation. They actually appreciate that. And if they go like this, there may be a stopper somewhere. But have a give and take. Most people on interviews will just sit and answer questions. It has to be a two-way dialogue, interactive, and so that everybody feels energized and happy by the time you're near the end. And
everything should be about demonstrating how you fit what they're looking for. So in Eleanor's example of what was it in my background that prompted you to reach out to me, invite me for this interview, you always want to affirm that you're hitting these talking points and confirming it along the way. Is this what it is you were looking for from me? And my way of doing the language is always very casual, so that this way it causes them to lower some of their guard in the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to have it professionally friendly. And each new topic, just say, does this sound like something you would seriously consider? Do you have any further insights to add to it? Am I missing anything? Just keep asking the questions. As they ask, you answer, and then ask another question. And as I said, along the way, get 3 to 5 buy-ins that you are on track. By the end of the conversation, ask, is there anything else you would like me to know? And they might tell you something or say, no, this has been great. And then you, before you get out of that chair, ask or hang up the phone. You have to ask, do I sound like the type of candidate you're willing to seriously consider? And that puts it back in their court, and you get a yes. If you have a no, you know to get up and leave and say thank you for your time. You get the yes, you just say, may I please be advised of the following steps? I'd like to know so I can prepare. In the meantime, they want to hear the word preparation. That's another value add, that you're taking this seriously and you're willing to put in the time to earn the job. It's actually earning the sale that you're making, that you're the best candidate. And then get the steps and then repeat them back. This is what most people forget. Repeat the steps back that they expect of you and everything you heard, so that they know you were listening, paying attention, and do it in their vocabulary. I'm sorry, I forgot one important piece at the beginning, for the beginning.
Sure.
That is, ask permission to take notes and do it in their vocabulary so that later on they can't deny that they said something. And when you repeat it back, they buy into what you're saying more readily than if you just use your own vocabulary.
I like this idea of speaking in their vocabulary. It's a way of, most people when they hear the terms from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, of matching and mirroring, they think in terms of gestures. So if this is a person who talks with their hands, they talk with their hands. If they're a person who smiles as they speak, they smile as they speak. It's all the behavioral stuff. But the real key is often using the exact words back at them, because they are using the most beautiful words in the world, their words.
Yeah.
And people love to hear themselves in someone else.
Right. It's just like pronouncing the person's name correctly and using their vocabulary. It just builds the relationship like nothing else.
Because firms, when they hire, are not just looking for competence, they look for someone who represents a person who's self-confident, who has character, maybe chemistry, some charisma. Charisma is the home run there, but ultimately they want to trust you.
Exactly.
They want to trust that you're going to be low maintenance and can do the job.
Absolutely. And then one other pointer before you get out of the chair, if you're going to be on a team, ask if it's possible for you to meet some of the team members privately or a team member. And should they move forward to introduce you to someone, offer to take them out to coffee so that you can have a private conversation. And we all know what some of those private conversations turn into.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
That's it.
Exactly right. Hey, you want to have some fun today? Here's the fun. I'm going to pull out your book. Marketing Precedes Sales. That was something that you highlighted in your book. When you hear that phrase, what comes to mind for you, either from your experience in sales or from the job hunter perspective?
Oh, from sales or entrepreneurship. But I always thought I didn't know how to market. I know nothing about it. I'm just a pure salesperson. But it turns out the way we communicate, the way we dress, the way we present ourselves, it's all marketing because people want to like what they see before they want to know more.
So true.
It's marketing.
Right. And thus, folks think in terms of marketing, branding. What's your brand? Which can be content-wise, information-wise, but it's also the packaging, the presentation of yourself in the conversation. Like many of you who've watched my videos before see me in the coach hat all the time. And that's part of my branding, both in my videos as well as locally with people that I coach. So I'll just simply say, folks, it makes so much sense. Marketing precedes sales. They have to trust you. They have to feel comfortable with you, because if you push for the sale too soon, what's the first thing that happens? It's like Dracula's coming to the room. And people pull away.
Exactly. So the sales motto is people have to know, like, and trust you before they'll buy from you.
So true. And thus, folks, you have to give them not just the knowledge in this, but they have to like you personally. They have to respect you and trust you in order to hire you. This has been fun.
It has been fun. It's great sharing stories with you and insights.
And how can people find out more about you? Folks, I'll have a link to the book in the show notes. It's called Hired again, Hired. How to use sales techniques to sell yourself on interviews. How can people find out more about your other books as well as your work as a trainer?
Thank you. My website is smoothsale, SMOOTHSALE.net. And my email is Eleanor, ELINOR @smoothsale.net. And I also have an Amazon page. But everything is on my website, all my contact information. And you'll find a blog there that applies both to sales and interviewing on Tuesdays, primarily Tuesdays, because I provide guest blogs on Fridays.
Cool. And folks, I'll be back soon with more that's designed to help you find work more quickly, be more effective in life, the universe, and everything. I'm Jeff Altman. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And if you did and you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, let someone know that it was worthwhile. Share it with folks. Come on. And if you're watching on bingenetworks.tv, follow me there. Binge is a great platform that you can watch me on. fireTV, Apple TV, Roku, 90 some odd devices. You can watch this smiling face all the time. Come on. You like doing that, don't you? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Hope you have a great day and take care.